Kwa majina ni Joseph K. Lesingo. Mimi ni jamii kutoka jamii ya Ogiek. Ninaishi hapa Kiptunga na nimeishi hapa kwa miaka mingi. Tangu nisaliwe. Hiyo ni zaidi ya miaka 50. Zaidi ya miaka 50. Pia mimi ni member of the Ogiek Councils of Elders. Again, I'm the chairman of the Kiptunga Community Forest Association. Sisi ni jamii asilia ambao in fact sisi ni jamii indigenous sababu tumeishi kwa hii misitu tangu jadi. In fact tumeishi misitu kabla hata ya wazungu kuja sababu tumekuwa tukifuatilia sana historia ya mababu. Kiona kwamba mimi nimesema nimesaliwa about over 50 years ago. Babangu alisaliwa huku. Babake alisaliwa pale. Hivyo ndio inamaanisha kwamba sisi ni asilia. We are the real natives of this area, especially the Mau. The Ogiek community are the bona fide settlers of Mau. They have been living all around Mau, the entire Mau complex. Although they did not have permanent homes, they had just temporarily, because they were just moving along Mau. Being determined by the factors when we had plenty of honey on the upper side, on the downside, so they just move around the Mau. So although they had divided the forest into clanism territories, each and every clan had their own forest territory to take care of. We had the Kiptirom clan, of which I belong. We have the Kibartori clan, of which others belong, and many others, about 22 clans that we have in Mau. Each and every clan was entitled to a forest territory, which was identified, or they had some boundaries being identified by the valleys like this one, big trees. Those were the beacons to identify other people's territory. So Ogiek people depended mostly in the forest for their livelihood. That is where they could get honey, they could get medicine, they could conduct their cultural activities, so they were attached with the forest. They could not live without the forest. So that is why they have continued to claim Mau as their ancestral land. Fikiri kabla ya wazungu sisi kwa tumekaa kwa amani kabisa, vile ambavyo nilikuwa najaribu kusema, sababu sisi tulikuwa tunatambua msitu huu pande huu wa klani hii. So wakati walipokuja waliadhirika kiasi, sababu wale wazungu kwanza kabisa walikuja wakajaribu sana kuchukua sehemu za msitu na hata kukata zile misitu, sababu by then hatuko na hizi exotic trees. Wakati walianza kukuja mara ya kwanza, walianza kukata hizi miti mitarakwa kutengeneza bao, ambapo hata ndio ziliunda manyumba. Hata ungepata mabati ya juu, the coverings of the roofs, hizi miti ndio zilitumika. Kwa hivyo wakati walipokuja ni kama kiazi walijaribu kusukuma jamii kiazi, waliwasongesha jamii kwa hiyo misitu na bila kutambua jinsi ambavyo jamii walikuwa wanachunga ile msitu. Na hata baada ya colonization tukapata sasa serikali ambao sisi tunajitawala, wakafuata zile sheria za wazungu, sababu walipokuja walikuja wakagazette the forest without even considering the Ogiek community. They came and gazetted that forest as the state forest without considering the Ogiek community living inside the forest. So that is actually how we were affected, because they continued to sustain us inside the forest, but we had no ownership of the forest. Although we knew it is our ancestral land, but the government just gazetted the forest while we are inside. By so doing, when the government gazetted the forest, there was some restriction of some other activities. We could no longer maybe access some of the shrines. We could no longer associate with some other trees that we used to conduct our cultural activities, because they are saying we are destroying the forest and such like things. So it affected us. It affected our traditional cultures in some ways. Yeah. You know, what we are seeing nowadays is that the government have come with a lot of policies that to us we are seeing a lot of negativity in it, because some of the policies that the government came with is actually, they came first and cleared indigenous forest. If you get most of the plantation areas where we have plantations, you get some of the remaining of the cuttings of the tree to show you that it was inhabited by indigenous forest. Most of the plantations, even when you go inside right now, you'll get the stumps standing. So the policies that the government came clearing the forest to create room for plantations has negatively impacted some of the very critical environmental areas, especially the wetland. When you go around the wetland, you get the indigenous were cleared just only to import and to plant exotic trees. For instance, the eucalyptus, the cypress, the pine. And we have been always complaining, because that is environmental abuse to us, and we have been pushing that for many years. Even when we were preparing our PFMP, that is Participatory Forest Management Plan, we tried to capture some of those areas, that these are the areas that we need to revisit, so that we should not make some other errors. We would like to maybe to restore what was destroyed. Those are some of the knowledges in traditional knowledge. What we saw, what God had planted there, is actually what we want to remain there, because God was not a fool. He was not. He knew what he was doing. There were some open areas. There were babu in a specific areas. There were forest. In fact, it was wonderfully made. Yeah. So we would like to borrow those ideas, and this can be got from our elders. Our elders can just tell us that this area was forested with this kind of species of trees. This area was called, and such like. Those are some of the traditional knowledge that we can just borrow, so that we restore what we have lost. There are some social activities that Ogiek have been doing. For instance, when we have got ceremonies, for instance, initiation ceremonies, these are some of the social activities that people could come together, gather, especially the boys. You know, we normally, even the girls were just passing that stages, but nowadays things have changed. But we have continued to remain with the initiation of the boys. So by so doing, people could come socially with the common goal of initiating these young men, and through that passage, some training could be conducted there, because we'd like that man who has just passed there to be a different person, to be passed from childhood to adulthood. Yeah, those days, Ogiek and their own God, the Ogiek people they had believed that there was God in heaven, whom they called Chebo. That name you can hear those men are calling. So each and every morning, older men could just wake up very early in the morning, stand and start praying that Chebolongo just give us a peaceful day, protect us from enemies. In fact, they used to conduct that. And also those men believe by themselves that if there is anything, those men were trusted and they could be given, and if there is any something that is going wrong, they could make it traditional. There was some ways that they used to settle such disputes. Yeah. During those days, before other people came into Mau, some of the activities, economical activities as we used to do, is actually one of them is beekeeping. That is actually one of the major one, because the Ogiek community used to make beehives, and they used to hang their beehives in their territory. Each and every clan at their own forest territory, that they could hang those beehives as their economic activity. In fact, for economical purposes, as well as production of food and such like things. Another activity that they have just adopted it, is actually raising of a few number of animals. They have got sheep, goats, and such like. Mm-hmm. What we understand, or what we know, is that the entire Mau Forest Complex is the home of the Ogiek, and that is why we have continued claiming it, because this is where we were found, and we are still there, and we are going to continue being there. Mm-hmm. That is the fact, because we have been trying to request the government to give us back our land, because most of it has been gazetted as forest government land. But the government, we have just been telling them that this is our land, this is our ancestral land, give us back our land. But they have been resisting. So we decided to go to court to try to claim it from the government. And we have sued the government, telling them that this is our land, we want our land back, we'd like to have our land so that we continue practicing our traditional way of life, we continue using our land. But when we went to court, we won the case in the High Court, but the government refused to implement. That forced us to take that case again to Arusha African Commission. Again, that case we won. Until this moment, as we talk, that judgment has not been implemented. We also went again for reparation matters, where the government were given some orders to undertake to implement this case of the Ogiek. Some of the orders that the government were given is actually that the Ogiek should be given back their ancestral land. We requested the government to give us our ancestral land by one title. Why one title? We want one title because this one is actually going to be a security purposes, because if you do not belong to the Ogiek community, we do not see any reason as to why you are going to be in that land. So we just requested it because of the security purposes. Another point that the government were ordered to do is actually to compensate the Ogiek throughout the violations, the moral and material prejudice that the Ogiek has gone through. So they were told to compensate the Ogiek, although sometimes myself I do see this money as very little, 157 million, which to me I see as though they are very little. Mm. It has impacted because when we talk of the Mau, when we requested the government to give us back our land, in fact, they tried to do as though they were settling the Ogiek. But what happened is actually some other communities were brought. Other communities from the entire counties, other counties, Kericho, Bomet, those areas, Baringo, those areas, especially the Kalenjin areas, they came to our land and they occupied most of it. That has actually affected the Ogiek people, because the Ogiek people are very few, and these other peoples are quite a big number. They have influenced them in a way that some of our communities have been assimilated to some of these communities. There is a lot of assimilation and intermarriages and such like things. We are seeing a lot of negative impact on it. Actually, as I said earlier, that we are pushing the government to identify us as a community so that we protect our culture, so that we do not get lost. That is why we have requested them to give us back our ancestral land with one title. With that one title, we are able to contact our cultural way of life. We are not going to be assimilated, because we shall be just one community living in that area. We are not going to be affected. And what we are doing is actually we are trying to construct Ogiek cultural centers, whereby we are going to equip with some artifacts so that the younger generation could go there and learn a lot. Things that we had lost, we are trying to collect them, put them in this cultural site, so that these young men can go there and learn. So those are some of the things that we are doing. We have got one at Gareta. We are contracting another one here, and this one actually are going to be some of the centers that we are going to make sure that we are not swallowed, we are not assimilated, we are back to the roots. Yeah.